Hey, folks, this podcast is sponsored by King Arthur Capital Group. Fund your fight camp, showing fighters how to leverage credit and capital so they can treat their career like a business. Love sharing the information about King Arthur Capital Group, very unique service within the combat sports space. So if you're looking to, make your finances work in a smarter way, just in general, looking to make your fight career easier to manage, hit up King Arthur Capital Group on Instagram at King Arthur Capital Group, and check out my interlude episode with David King Arthur McElroy, where we talk all about it. Also, check out Fight Club Crate. Mystery, fight gear, knockout prices, undisputed value. Combat sports boxes delivered monthly. Use my promo code TAPTHAT15 at Fight Club Crate for 15% off of your first purchase. That's a very unique product, too, in the combat sports space. And if, it's finally a winner of a gift idea for the combat sports connoisseur in your life. And what's up, everybody? This is another interlude episode of the Tap That MMA podcast. We got UFC 327 happening later tonight. A ton of combat sports tonight. PFL is doing two events. We've got Ryzen Landmark again. So a lot of combat sports action. Follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady for picks on all that stuff. Follow me on Instagram at RotoBrady MMA. Follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube and Spotify, now available on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. Check out my recent interlude episodes too. Ones with Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres, with Jared Night Train Gooden, David King Arthur McElroy. Go check those out. And with me today,
Out of the red corner, the champion, Luis. The champion.
this guy is a 2-1 amateur middleweight hailing from the state of Florida. Give it up for Luis Riot Romero. Luis, how's it going, man?
What's up, brother? It's going good. It's going good. How are you?
Oh, doing good. It's quiet Saturday afternoon for the most part, and a ton of fights later tonight to watch. And so, like, your first two amateur fight, is it correct? Like, I never know topology in people's amateur careers. So are you 2-1 as an amateur? Is this
Yes, sir.
the scale of your fights? Okay. So you started back in April of 2025 was your first fight, and your first two fights were through 305 fights.
Correct.
Now, what was the timeline of actually like fighting for an amateur title? Because I obviously from like different things on your Instagram, it's clear that that's something you did, but on Tapology, being in an amateur title fight is not reflected in any of the fights. So what was kind of the timeline for those first two fights of your career at 305 fights?
It was honestly such a crazy story. So my first fight, I was actually scheduled to face a guy that was 2-0 that I had trained with in my old gym, and I had just left the gym. There's like a whole story about that. We had a bunch of beef and stuff.
Oh,
And once I had left that gym, I ended up calling him out. I DM'd him and I was like, "Oh, let's fight." And then they didn't have a 185 champ at the time. So they actually wanted to make it where if he won, he would get the title. And if I won, I didn't get anything since I was debuting. So I told them, I was like, that makes no sense. And they were like, oh, well, sell enough tickets and we'll make it a title fight. So I ended up selling more tickets than anyone on the card. They made it a title fight and I ended up taking the belt off of them. And then my second fight was my first title defense. And I fought him and I defended my title. And then in my third fight, I went to PFL and I didn't get the job done, but it's all right. We'll come back stronger.
and so I mean that's always crazy. Now, if it's because someone misses weight, I get it. But in any level of the sport, it is so crazy to say, well, if this guy wins, he's champion. But if you win, you don't. They did that. That was kind of like the Ally Quinta fight when he fought Islam Makhachev, or when he fought Khabib.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, if he wins, he's not champion. But like, if Khabib wins, everything remains the same. And he goes, it's like, but what if he doesn't win? Like, how?
Yeah.
We're only saying this because we don't think that that person's ever gonna win. But
Exactly.
like, dude, if you win, it's gonna be real weird with your champion moving forward, coming off a loss in his weight class.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's goofy.
I
So
agree.
so I mean that's crazy. But like, they gave you their weird conditions for how to make it a title fight. You met those and exceeded those.
Yep.
Uh, how are you able to sell more tickets than anybody else?
Honestly, it was just my friends, my family. Like I have family that came down from everywhere. I have family that lives in Tampa and they came down, all of them to watch. I had my mom that lives in Tennessee fly down, you know.
Oh,
So it was just kind of like I just have a really big family and a lot of friends. So, they all came to support. I was very appreciative of that and, I put on a show.
and I mean, those are because folks, if you've ever been to a regional MMA card, what you'll see a lot of the time is the person that has the most family and friends there. You don't want them on the undercard because you will see a sea of people leave before the main card of a regional promotion even starts. It's weird that like the main event will so like in any Ohio Combat League event I've been to, it'll be like the main event is like Keegan Genrich or like Melvin Gillard like is out of prison and fighting in this main event. And it's like you see a ton of people leave because everybody showed up to watch the dude that they know or the dude that they train with. And then you see 50 people leave, and it's like, yeah, it's way quieter in here and way easier to get a better place to watch this. Like for the main event, it's a weird thing, like at a regional card. But that's why if you know somebody who's able to get a lot of people to come out and support them, you want them as high up on the card as possible.
Exactly. It's really funny that you say that actually, because I remember everyone told me, because I was the featured fight that night, so I was the third to last, and everyone told me they're like, dude, there was more people in there for you than the main event.
It's a weird thing, but I think if you're a regional MMA promotion, you have to lean into whatever gets people in the door the most.
Yeah, exactly. And my second fight, I was the main event, and my third fight, I was also the main event for a different organization. So, I mean, it worked out.
Because a weird thing that some of these other regional promotions will do is like they'll have like a pay-per-view link. And it'll be like, I've bought the Ohio Combat League one before because like those are the people that I have trained with are fighting in Ohio Combat League. And if I can't make it, I would let's see, we might have lost Luis for a second. There you go. Uh
Yeah.
when I'm watching like Ohio Combat League, it's like, all right, well, there's people that I know that are fighting. I'm not able to make it tonight. I would like to watch. But for every other regional promotion, that's probably how they're getting people to buy the pay-per-view link. But it's like, dude, put your shit for free on YouTube, stream it live. I don't know how many people you're missing out on because you're asking people on a Saturday night to pay $30 to watch this event.
Exactly. And it's always they're competing with like something. It'll be a boxing fight, a UFC fight, a football game. I remember I fought one time on UM versus UF or UM versus FSU. It's like a huge football game down here in South Florida, and it's like I had a bunch of people that couldn't even come because they were going to that game. And I remember telling the promoter, I was like, dude, just make it the next week. And he's like, nah. So,
I I mean like the UFC did like that event early in London a couple weeks ago during like the early opening rounds of the NCAA tournament. And it's like, dude, like on a Saturday, it is hard enough to get people who love watching fights to be able to be home and uninterrupted watching fights the entire
yeah,
time. Now you're trying to throw something like to compete with someone's attention on a Saturday above everything else. That's a very hard ask. Now, if you put something for free on YouTube, shit, I can come back to it the next morning. I can go to,
exactly.
I'm definitely not buying a pay-per-view link to watch something that happened last night.
Yes, sir. Like that's like shout out Dirty Boxing. They last night they had it here in the James L night in Miami, and it was on YouTube. I literally watched it in the car and everything. Shout out my boy El Gallo. He got the win, unanimous decision, featured fight, the cash cow. He's coming for that BKFC title too. So shout out him.
By that point, like some promotions will put stuff for like free on YouTube or like I don't know, people do like stuff free on Facebook Live, which is like quite a throwback. I remember when the UFC first they're like we're doing two early prelims on Facebook, and it was like whoa, like that's crazy. Now, like the idea of that seems kind of hilarious. Like them going to that, but the thing about like free on YouTube is everybody has so many streaming services already. This is not like a new topic of conversation. Everybody knows
Yeah,
like everybody's got three Netflix accounts from 2017 that they don't remember. And I pay for like Ryzen, like their year-long thing. I like have several other things that are like weirder sports things that a lot of people don't have. So when I see that something is on DAZN and it's a pay-per-view on DAZN, it's like that's two accounts past what I already don't have. Like I it and Finding a pirated stream is a lot harder than it used to be. It
Yeah.
seems so. It
They
used
shut
to
down Stream East and everything went downhill, man.
It used to be so easy to watch every boxing event. The idea of watching a boxing pay-per-view is insane to me. And now it's
Yeah.
like, God, I think it's probably what I'd have to do. So, I mean, for a regional MMA promotion, I would always just say, like, dude, make it as easy for people to see it as possible,
I
and
completely agree.
with as few
And the
barriers.
ticket prices are outrageous too, man. They'll charge $60 a ticket for an amateur promotion. It's like, dude, you gotta charge 20, man. 25, you know?
I mean, I swear to God, if you could do 15 and be like, hey,
Yeah.
$15 tickets, $15, blow the hell out of that. And because there's so few things out there like that, that if you can market yourself as a cheaper form of entertainment on the night, like, I don't know why people are so against that. I think, I think because that's harder. I think that takes more effort if you're a promoter.
It does. It does. But it's worth it, man. Look, one of my teammates, he's like a brother to me, Pratt. He's a boxer. He's nasty. He fought in this place called Date Street Boxing. I pulled up to corner him. It was $20 to get in, no problem. I have other teammates that they'll fight at places, $50 to get in. I can't even go support them because like I gotta go me and my girl. It's like I'm not gonna spend 100, you know? But
That and like I see the logic in that a lot of people who are going to regional fights are going to support a specific person. And or it's like I don't know, they always do like the tables up front like surrounding the cage where people pay like, what $400 for 8 people
yeah,
to go like sit up in, and there's no like real VIP quality to it other than like you're sitting at a table.
yeah, literally.
I don't know what else that comes with it. But I see the logic that it's like, well, we're just really trying to like get people's family and friends in here and then like some other random people. But it's like, then I know that's harder, but like it's also really hard to get a regional MMA promotion to survive for too long. Like it's not like that's a formula for success. It's a formula that people are aware of. But I think to
Yeah.
really thrive, it's a thing people love about what I would call minor league sports. I put it in the same category. It was like that's why people like going to like semi-pro baseball games that are at a high school field because it's $10 to get in, and they've got everything else is just regular concession stuff. People look for cheap forms of entertainment.
Exactly. And that's what they don't understand. You know, it's like the more people you get there, the better. It doesn't matter how much money you make. You need to focus on the long term. They're just so focused on like, we need the money now, now, now. Look, 305, right? They had me for 2 fights. They wanted me for more, and I couldn't work with them anymore, man. They're just too hard to deal with. And it's like these amateur promotions try to run themselves like they're the UFC, dude. And it's like, bro, you guys don't understand. Like the fighters is what makes your promotion. It's not you, you know? The UFC is different. The UFC, yeah, the UFC is always gonna be the UFC. But in terms of the amateur promotions, man, like the fighters make it, not the promoters. So
And I mean, and I get where that can be hard because I don't think that like a promotion like 305 ever planned on having somebody for 10 fights necessarily.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I don't know. I think you got to market the sport to people. Like, hey, like if you're in this area and on set and you like watching fights, $15 to get in, and
exactly.
these are the fights that were put. You try to find marketable personalities as much as you can. People like to watch, but yeah, regional promotions. I mean, I've heard so many things across the board. I heard that so many people have, like, oh, this place runs himself great. They're easy to work with, but you hear so many horror stories and not as many anymore as like if you talk to a fighter from like 2010. Where
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell was happening, but, there's just some promotions out there like because I'm into arena and indoor football too, and it's kind of the same thing where it's like some people do this for the right reasons and they can do it, and some people do it because they like the thought of it, but really they have no business like being involved in the business side of like running a sports promotion.
exactly. And you know, it's just like you said, man. Some people should just sit and watch and not necessarily try to get involved because they just don't know what they're doing. But I will say PFL Premier Fight League, it was a pleasure working with them, man. They're so easy to work with. The only complaint is that you don't get commission on ticket sales and stuff. But besides that, man, like everything they did was amazing. Like I'd rather not get the commission and deal with them than go back to what I was getting commission and stuff. Give me one second. I'm gonna let my dog in.
Yeah.
Oh,
To that point, that's you making a longer term decision. That's you
yeah,
doing $15 tickets that's that line of thinking. Because yeah, like it'd be nice to have the commission from ticket sales, but to work with a promotion that you feel like is good for your career and is good at, business, that's a longer term decision that, like, if you can pass on whatever the commission for those tickets would be now, it could get you further along, over the course, over the course of the next year or two than, staying with a promotion that you hate working with. People might pull out of fights. You might show up and you're fighting a light heavyweight, not middleweight. Nobody told you. But, being able to fight with a promotion that doesn't cause you a ton of headaches when you're trying to get fights and further your career is a big deal.
exactly. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Fight week before used to be me just stressing about ticket sales and all this other stuff, and now it's just like fight week, all I gotta focus on is the fight. The entire fight camp, all I'm focusing on is the fight. And everything's done online. It's not physical tickets, which physical tickets, honestly, they're easier to sell, but you have to deliver them. So it's like it takes up a lot more energy. But everything has pros and cons. But yeah, I'm super happy with where I'm at with Premier Fight League right now.
That's an interesting thought. Like physical tickets, like it's almost like a school fundraiser. Like it's
Yeah.
to show up with a box of chocolate bars and get people to buy them for $1 each. But like when it comes to like ordering stuff, it's like
Yeah,
like I'll do it later. And
exactly.
you gotta follow up with people too, and you hate doing that. Like where it's like, hey, did you like do this? Do you need any help like navigating the link or something? And it'd be hard to like do that objectively when it's like, like I get commission from these goddamn tickets, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds like a pain in the ass to deal with when you're like fighting. So it's got to feel good to not like have to worry about that for the time being.
100%, 100%. And you're cutting weight and stuff too. That doesn't make it any easier. But yeah, no, it's definitely much better.
And so I at least see from Instagram that you played football in high school, in the state
Yeah.
of Florida, which is a very different thing from playing high school football in any other state. Um, and so, one, I always find it interesting the amount of football and MMA crossover that you get. In part, it makes sense. Like the goal is to hit hard for a lot of people. So it makes sense. At the same time, football is such a deeply team sport. Uh,
Yeah.
like the only other one that I would say touches it is basketball because you pass the ball to a teammate. Like you're all on the same floor working toward.
Yeah, but even then, man, like football, there's 11 guys well, there's 22 guys on the field at all times, 11 on each side. So it's like in football, hey, 10 guys could do their job perfectly. One guy messes up, we're not going to score, right? The center, everyone could do everything perfect. If the center messes up the snap, the play's dead and it's a fumble. So it's different because there's just so many moving variables in football. But yeah, no, I definitely know what you mean. Basketball's like that too, but it's just less people, so
And it's just interesting because, like, I get the way football is played. We've seen many people transition from football to MMA, but it's hard to transition to the pace of it since football is played in spurts of a handful of seconds where the goal is to explode for, as much of your physical capability as
yeah.
possible. And in MMA, I mean, take Greg Hardy, the most famous football player to transition to MMA, and consistently had issues past the first 2.5 minutes of the fight. But what position did you play in football?
I played everything almost. I was like a Swiss Army knife. I played will linebacker. I played middle linebacker. I played D end. I played D tackle at one point. I played center, guard, tackle, tight end, everything.
I love the term Swiss Army knife in sports for so many things.
Me too. I'm a big fan of that one too.
Now, is 185 a tough cut for you to make?
No, honestly, 185 is super easy. I'm gonna probably go to 70 when I go pro.
Oh, damn. Okay, how
Yeah.
tall are you? Because it doesn't even say that on Tapology.
I'm 6'2".
Okay, 6'2", weighing in right now at 185 pounds, easy cut. What do you walk around at like
I
one?
walk around usually like 210, 215.
Okay, cool. And it's weird because like with football, like if someone's a wrestler and they've wrestled since elementary school or middle school or whatever, cutting weight is in their bones. Like they're
Yeah.
good at it, and they can also cut like 40 pounds if necessary. But in football, the goal is never weight cutting.
Yeah, it's always gaining.
So it's something that like is that something that you had to like like learn how to do, or as you
A
got.
hundred percent, I had to learn how to do it. And let me tell you, So I did a Naga tournament, a jiu-jitsu tournament
Mhm.
at 199, and I was like 212, let's say. So I cut from 212 to 199 because the week before the fight, my one of my friends that he wrestled, funny enough, he was telling me like, no, you gotta cut salt and you gotta load your water and all this. I was like, nah, bro. So I'm doing it my way, whatever. And it was my little sister's birthday, like a week and a half out. So there was pizza, cake, everything. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna eat it. I'm cutting weight. I don't eat. In the middle of the night, I wake up with like cramps and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm starving, whatever. I go to get water and all I see is this cake. And it was this like pavlova, which is like, it's like graham crust, caramel, and strawberries and like whipped cream. Oh my God, it's so good. Dude, I said, fuck it. I ate like half that thing. I weighed in 212 the next day. That was the worst weight cut of my life. I was in the sauna for like an hour and a half to make a jiu-jitsu tournament weight. And
Oh,
that taught me my lesson. After that, I listened to my friend that wrestled, started cutting weight that way, and everything got way better.
oh, well, that's the hard way to learn, I guess.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, like, because I think, like, when other people think about cutting weight, maybe, uh, like, when anybody thinks about cutting weight, like, you think about like, oh, it's okay, you don't eat. Okay, you just go, I'm not gonna eat that. And yeah, but it's different where like you hear survival stories of people that were adrift on in like a raft on the ocean for like 2 weeks. And they start eating fish eyes and like because like
Yeah.
it gives them their body like craves it because it has vitamins in there that they need. And so the idea of just like, "Ooh, I'm just not gonna do that," is crazy because your body goes, "Holy shit, look at that cake in the fridge."
Exactly. I was like, dude, I'm telling you, that was a crazy night. And I had no regrets after. My regrets were when I was in the sauna. I was like, damn, I can never do that shit again.
Oh my God. And so right now, you're coming off of the fight in December with Premier Fight League at Premier League Fight League 47. It was a first round loss to John Timblar. Timblar, who I believe is now 5-0 as an amateur.
Yes.
So he's got a good record for sure. Now, what did you learn from your first loss, and what is going to be different about you in between that first loss and the fighter you're going to be for your next fight?
Well, the first thing I learned is that it was a possibility. Honestly, before I didn't even think it was possible for me to lose. And I was just very arrogant, man. Like besides that, I was very comfortable. And, I was comfortable with the way I was training. I was comfortable with everything I was doing. And I didn't feel any need to change anything up because I was like, oh, well, it's working. Well, like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So it kind of just made me really like look in the mirror and kind of understand what was going on, look around me, and just realize that just because I had success with this one thing doesn't mean it's the end all be all, right? Like you need to be able to adapt and evolve all the time. And the biggest thing it showed me is just how important the mental side is, like everyone always says fighting is 90% mental, 10% physical, but I honestly think it's 100% mental because if this isn't right, nothing else will be. And I went in there, I was in good shape and everything, but it was the mental side. I wasn't playing chess, like he was playing chess, I was playing checkers. And I did good. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like he ran through me or anything. He caught me. Congratulations to him. He beat me fair and square. But I mean, I was definitely winning the fight in my opinion, and I just threw for example, I threw like 8 head kicks and I didn't throw not one to the leg, one to the body. So it's like the importance of mixing it up and staying calm, not just chasing that finish and that flash knockout. So I was just chasing it too much. And I feel like if I would have relaxed and just kind of been a martial artist instead of just trying to brawl and knock him out, I think I would have done a lot better. But I also think it's something that needed to happen. And he was the better man that night. He's going pro now. He just made his pro debut in Combat Night. He didn't get it done, but he had a good showing. He dropped the guy and everything. So, respect to him. Me and him text on occasion too. I'd love to train with him. But I definitely want that back in the future, no question. Like we need to run that back.
And I mean, being undefeated as an amateur, he had kickboxing experience too. The people that he fought had records of 3-1, 3-3. Like there's a little
Yeah.
bit of experience there. And you were his last amateur fight.
Yeah.
That was the next step to going pro. So that dude was ready to make that jump. You're
Yeah,
16
he
years
was
old.
28, so he was a grown man, and I'm not gonna lie, everyone I had fought had just been like my age, and the biggest thing was my 2 fights that I had. I felt the guys break in the fight. Like I felt that the moment I hit him, they just kind of broke and didn't really want it. And with him, he was coming forward and his style was very aggressive. So I liked it because I was like, oh, he's gonna walk into something. And he did. And in the first round, I clipped him with the right hand. He stumbles back. I throw a head kick, clip him. He goes against the cage. I kind of level change, hit him with a knee. And then we start fighting again. He gets a little more timid, or what I thought was timid, but now I know he was probably just like, oh, let me relax, let me time him, let me be patient.
Mm.
And my inexperience, I was like, oh, he's breaking the same way that the other two did, you know? And I was like, he doesn't want it. So then I just kind of threw the kitchen sink at him and went for the knockout because I thought it was coming at any moment, you know? And that's how you live and you learn, you know? It was just he was more experienced than me and it showed. But I don't think he was a better fighter than me. I don't think he's more talented than me, more tough than me, none of that, you know? I still think I'm the best in the world, you know, if you ask me. So,
Well, dude, you're 22 and you're, 22 coming from a different kind of, athletic background, and that takes time. And
yeah.
it's like, okay. When Chase Hooper was 21 years old and in the UFC and he lost to Alex Caceres, and everybody was saying fraud check. And it's like, dude, get the hell out of here with fraud check. The
I
dude's
hate that term, man. They throw
21.
that around with everything.
Look, because there are a couple of times, because like because I talk to fighters and because I like to think I have a decent perspective on life in general, I don't use that term because I'm not a dick about most
Yeah.
stuff, which is just the reason people do it is because you get to be a dick with that term. But most of the time, it doesn't apply. Like whatever Chase Hooper becomes, his loss that he took at 21 years old to a guy that had 25 fights in the UFC does not mean that he was a fraud. Like
Yeah, exactly.
21 is so young to be in the UFC fighting against 28-year-old dudes that's like, yeah, I was in the Marines. I sold my way out of prison. I'm here. I'm just looking to win fights. Like, dude, that's
Yeah.
he's fighting against a 21-year-old. Like, that's not a fraud. He's got
Yeah.
plenty of time. You've got another 7, 8 years before I start to say, okay, what is his ceiling? You know?
Exactly. No, I completely agree. And like that's like they did the same thing with Wellmaker. He lost to Ewing and it was like a decision, short notice, all that. Like the guy didn't even look bad. He got outclassed. He wasn't prepared. And it's like everyone's fraud check, fraud check. Now you look at Ewing's last performance, like last week, the guy looks like a world beater. It's like, is it a fraud check or is that guy just really that good? You know?
With Wellmaker, it was tough too because one, he hit Ethan Ewing with the kitchen sink too. Like
Yeah,
Ethan Ewing was hurt at early parts in that fight. It's only because Ethan Ewing is a junkyard dog that he was able to come back and win that.
exactly.
But with the thing is, you can't judge people on late replacements in the UFC necessarily because
I completely
they,
agree.
they used to say that's a disadvantage for the guy that's coming in on 2 days' notice. If they're in good shape, I disagree. I think that it's harder for the guy that was planning on fighting someone else, but now they're fighting a different person.
I
'Cause
completely agree.
what from talking to some of these guys, from talking to Josiah Harrell and like some other prospects, that it's like they're at that level. They're on the cusp of getting a phone call. The thing is, these guys stay in shape all the time because they've learned over the last year, like, I just got to be ready for whenever I get the call. I like my people are talking to the UFC and eventually I'm going to get a call. Those guys are ready to step in on 2 days' notice. Some fighters are not necessarily prepared to take on a different person than they were planning on fighting 2 days ago.
No, 100%. Look, my second fight, I took it on 3 weeks' notice. I had like three different opponents, and the on like we were so close. We were 3 weeks out, and they offered me a kid making his debut, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But the kid didn't have Instagram. I never saw a picture of the kid, nothing.
Oh,
And I was there the whole time in my head, like, yo, who is this kid? What's this kid gonna look like? What does he fight like? Whatever, whatever. They put like a poster, and I swear I looked at the poster. I'm like, dude, this kid looks huge. And we go to the face offs and I see him. I'm like, bro, this guy looks nothing like what he looked like in his poster. And then, we fought, whatever. And it was just a learning lesson for me because it was like, you really don't know what to expect. Like, I remember everyone was telling me that I was going to murder that kid, that he didn't even look like he trained, stuff like that. And then we get in there, I take him down. I I'm in mount. I'm like, oh, let me just finish him really fast in the first round. And the guy escapes from the back door, goes for a takedown, does a bunch of shit. I'm like, whoa, like I thought you were supposed to be a trash can, bro. And then, I ended up getting the job done, but he was tough too. I hit that guy with some shit. And let me tell you, he took it, bro.
And folks, Luis is referring to Jean Petit,
Yeah.
and I'm going to share my screen too for the, let's see, I'm going to share my screen and show them the poster I think you're talking about here. So, folks, obviously that is Jean Petit on the right. Does not look small, does not look 18 years old. So it is just like that has to be weird. And it's got to be, strategically for a lot of fighters, like if you're not that involved on social media, it's kind of messed with people's heads so much. Like, I don't even know what
Yeah.
this shit looks like. I could be in the same room with him. I could be standing next to him in this hotel ballroom that we're doing these weigh-ins in or whatever,
Exactly.
and I might not even know it. That's gotta that's gotta weigh on people.
No, yeah, definitely. Your mind loves to play tricks on you, like it looks for anything. So that was definitely just me having to just tell myself, I was like, yo, you know what? It doesn't even matter who it is. I'm going in there and I'm getting it done. And that's what I did. So it worked out.
So right now on Tapology, you don't have any of your like you don't have a next fight listed or anything. So you don't have one on the books, it seems. So like, what is your plan for moving forward for the rest of 2026? When do you want to fight next? And is it going to be with Premier Fight League? You looking at something else? What's the plan?
So I was scheduled for May 16th with Premier Fight League, but I switched camps recently. That's what I was kind of alluding to when I said that I needed the L. Like I'm still with my old team and everything, but I'm doing my main trainings with a new team, Rapid Striking, with Jesus Rodriguez Chuch. He's our head coach, and then we got Elvin Espinoza. He's like 10-2 in the PFL,
Yeah.
Nicaraguan guy. My dad's Nicaraguan too, so that's super cool to have those ties with one of my coaches and stuff. So I'm with them now. It's a super good gym. It's all fighters on the mats. Everyone's super high level. So when I got there, I was scheduled May 16th, but I just got there. I wasn't gonna be like, oh, I'm fighting right now. So me and the coach agreed. We were like, hey, let's take it little by little. Let me get to know you, and then we'll take a fight. So ideally, I definitely for sure want to fight at least once by the end of the year. Like I need to. And ideally, I want to go back to PFL again, and I want to stay there, get my get back. He's not there anymore. Templar's not there anymore, but I'd still want that belt. Like I had the shot, I didn't get it, so I want that one. But nah, yeah, it's just taking it day by day, just getting better, getting more familiar with the new style. Learning more things. This one's more it's very technique based. Like we do a lot of footwork, a lot of thinking. Literally what I was lacking before. So it's really good. Just get to know that. At least fight once this year, and from there we just keep going. And whatever my coach tells me is what I'll do.
And I mean, that sounds like the smart move too, is like not hopping into anything too quick with a new team.
Yeah.
Like people need to know you before they can tell you how to fight. Because I mean, I can't imagine what corner advice would sound like for someone who has no idea, like really who you are. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
like how you fight, how you react to things.
hey, when you throw that and he reacts like that, throw a rear elbow. Like, if my real coach would know I hate rear elbows. Like,
Yeah.
something like that. Um, well, that's good. I think you hear from so many amateur fighters that it's like, I want to fight at least four more times by the end of the year, and it's like that's good. Like, go. I would take it fight by fight if you can.
Yeah.
With all this being so weird, and like in Florida, from what I understand, you could throw a stone from wherever you're standing and hit a good MMA gym. You could probably throw a stone from wherever you're standing and hit a shitty MMA gym.
Exactly.
And probably four different jujitsu places, all with Gracie on the front and like mall storefronts and whatnot.
Exactly.
They've got all those too. So I mean, like finding the camp in like a needle in a haystack in a state that has sports on sports on sports on sports for everything. It's got to be tough, but when you find a team that works for you, that's got to be like a real satisfying feeling.
No, 100%. And look, my like I said, my quote unquote old team, it's not like I'm not with them. I'm still there 2, 3 times a week. It's just different styles. Like with Tigre, that's my gym, Young Tigers Foundation. It's a very boxing heavy gym, right? So we have a bunch of world champions, but they're champions in boxing and bare knuckle, right? So it's like it's still good, but in terms of the grappling, the mixing it up, I needed to kind of expand my horizons, and that's when I found RST, and there we really mix everything up. So when you just combine the two camps, it's like one big super camp. And I've trained everywhere. I've trained that boxer gym where Benavides trains here in Miami. That place was good. I trained under War Corey Emiliano. He was amazing. I've trained at also shitty gyms like Freestyle Fighting Academy. That's the worst gym in Miami. I train there, I work there, and holy shit, they suck. Like honestly, they scam, they put you in a contract, they overcharge you everything, and they're just terrible people. But
Ah,
everything else, everywhere else I've been, I've somewhat enjoyed. There's good and bad everywhere you go. So you just gotta know what to do. Like when I lived in Tallahassee for a little bit, I trained at Train Fight Win, which is it was a Bang Muay Thai affiliate, which is like Dwayne Ludwig, TJ Dillashaw's coach. He's the one that owns Bang Muay Thai. So it was like an affiliate gym. I took seminars under Ludwig and everything. So that benefited me, but it just wasn't really my thing. I moved back here. Everything happens for a reason. So I'm definitely exactly where I need to be now.
and I know a lot of people have to do that, like in the inverse to what you said. The place I go here in Newport, Kentucky is Carlson Gracie NKY. And they offer, they do classes of all sorts, but like there's two Muay Thai classes per week, one on Wednesday and Friday. And the vast majority of people that are going to Carlson Gracie and KY are people doing no-gi jiu-jitsu, gi jiu-jitsu, judo. There's a ton of kids jiu-jitsu and judo classes. So, like, I think if people do need more work, with their striking, they're going to other places and getting in sparring rounds and stuff like that. So, it's stuff that you have to do, to become a well
Yeah.
fighter on the way up.
No, 100%. And that's the biggest problem. Look, the gym that I was just talking about, that I was kind of talking shit about, one of their main things was like, oh, you can't cross train, right? So it's like, how are you gonna expect to have high level fighters and you don't even let these guys go train with other guys? It just doesn't make sense. You're not gonna have everything under one roof. You're gonna need to go test yourself with other people.
That is just batshit insane logic.
Exactly.
A gym to have it, like, dude, you're losing people. You're not keeping people because of this. People are
Exactly.
leaving and now saying bad things about you, like because and well deserved. So
Yeah.
I understand when people make decisions that people don't like because it has a good result for them. I understand when a business does something that people hate because it ends up making them more money. I get
Yeah.
that. But dude, this is just not. This is how you disappear. Like
Exactly.
nobody is sticking around for a gym like that that's telling them they can't go train at other places and making them sign contracts, and everybody's leaving unhappy. Man, I give you a year, like at this pace.
Exactly. And like it's like with everything, they're gonna have people that stay and stuff like that. But if you really look at that gym and their history, look, Jorge Masvidal trained there at one time. He left. Doesn't like them, tells them like if you ask him about them, he'll tell you that they're fucking assholes to tell them to go fuck themselves, everything, right? Jorge Masvidal trained there. I trained there. There's so many other people that like, I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and look, right? But there's a bunch of fighters that and they all leave there because it's just not a good gym. But besides that, like I don't even want to talk about them anymore. Fuck them. But you know, speaking of Masvidal, that guy is a legend, man. Like that, I'd say that's one of my biggest inspirations, especially coming out of Miami, man. Seeing what he's been able to do is, it's crazy. It's crazy, honestly. He's a living legend. He's a hometown hero, 100%. And dude, that guy he's so cool. I actually have a funny story.
Mhm.
I was training one time at UFC gym, and I walk out of UFC gym, and I'm rolling up a joint in my car, and I see Jorge Masvidal, and I'm like, oh my God, let me roll this so fast. Like, I'm gonna ask him whatever. I roll it up, I step out, and I light it. I'm looking at him, and he goes and he's pulling out, and he stops. He goes, "Hey, is that the pre-workout or the post?" I was like, "Oh, it's the post. You want some?" He's like, "Yeah." I sat there and smoked with Jorge Masvidal, talked shit with him for like 30 minutes, bro. That was one of the coolest things ever.
Ah, that's awesome. And
Yeah,
I'm so happy that you hadn't already like lit that by the time Jorge Masvidal pulls up, because then you get to watch
exactly.
him drive away, just clutching your steering wheel, like, oh my God, should I say something?
Yeah,
Oh my God, that's crazy. How serendipitous life can be.
exactly. It was so cool.
I mean, the amazing thing about Jorge Masvidal is like, Game Bread is such a unique, format to take combat sports in, and I've been really impressed by, DBX, Bare Knuckle, Game Bread, all these things that have taken, and Karate Combat have put a fun spin on combat sports that, like, you keep thinking, like, I mean, they can't do anything else, right? And then someone comes up with another cool
He literally.
uh, and what Jorge Masvidal's roots are in the sport, the backyard fighting with, in the Kimbo Slice era. Like
Rest in peace, man. That guy's a legend.
I have an action figure on my back mantle of Kimbo Slice standing next to Jason Mayhem Miller.
That's so cool.
And yeah, like Kimbo, I people loved him in his life, and he was one of the first big YouTube sensations. But I think people almost appreciate it more now, like to look back and to see like what a real influence that guy had on the sport.
Yeah,
Like
man.
you don't
BKFC probably wouldn't exist without him.
you don't see like you seen just now in 2026 the real impact of a guy like Kimbo Slice and how many people have more or less like followed in his footsteps, and like he was a path, like he showed people like you don't need like legitimacy of like the promotion you're fighting under or anything. Like put on something that's captivating. And uh
Exactly.
those YouTube videos, that might be the first YouTube video that I watched, and it's probably the first YouTube video that a ton of people watched. And
Yeah.
you're a little younger. I'm 29 now, but like as a kid, I think the first time I ever saw YouTube was like, you ever seen this guy Kimbo Slice fight people in his backyard? Like, no, let's check that out. That sounds awesome.
That's sick. I didn't know that. That's super cool. I remember when I first started watching YouTube, it was just like Minecraft videos and shit as a little kid.
Yeah, God, if that isn't the age difference between 29 and Uh, and so, Luis, this has been a very fun conversation. I'm really looking forward to see what else you do in 2026. Before you go, if there's anything else you want to say or anybody you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
No, just, first and foremost, shout out to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He's the way, the truth, and the light. There's no other way to the Father except through him. So, I'm a super proud Orthodox Christian. That'll never change. Always gonna be me. Shout out to my parents, my family, my girl. Shout out to my team, Rapid Striking, Young Tigers, my coaches, Chooch, Elvin, Tigre, just all that. And thank you for having me on, man. I hope we do it again. I'd love to come on here again, talk to you more. This was really fun. I was very happy to be here. So thank you for the opportunity to come talk, brother.
Absolutely. And folks, before we go, another important thing about Luis Riot Romero is, almost every guest I've ever had on, I have reached out to at some point. Luis reached out to me, and I think that is an amazing thing early in your amateur career to see those opportunities and want to talk about yourself as a fighter.
Yes,
I
sir.
think that's something that a lot of people miss out on. I think a lot of people pass up on opportunities like that. And look, like then there's no videos of them talking about themselves as a fighter on the internet. So
Exactly.
I commend you for like, looking for those opportunities and, wanting to take part. I think that's a good thing for your career, and it says good things about you as a fighter. And so folks, thank you so much for listening to another interlude episode of the Tap That MMA podcast. Again, follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady, on Instagram at RotoBrady MMA. Follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. Follow Luis Romero on Instagram at Luis Romero MMA. Check out all the recent interlude episodes we've had and the ones we've got on the books coming up. Have yourselves a great Saturday and peace.